Howdy folks, I finally wanted to finish up this series of videos. This is on homemade, modified, or used lab equipment for the home lab. And I'm not really sure what number this is, maybe number 7, but it's the final one, and I just have not gotten around to taping it. So this will be it. So I'll give you a tour of the lab, and this one is going to cover lab fixtures, which will include stuff like tables, shelves, benches, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is actually walk around with the camera, because these lab fixtures are larger items, and take a quick look at what I have and what I'm using. This is the first item. It's actually repurposed. We actually had this in our one house. It's a reproduction dry sink. And basically a dry sink is kind of like a sink that didn't have running water, but it had it like a basin, which we have here, a drawer for supplies, and a cabinet. But I modified it to actually have a flat lid that covered the whole thing, so I have a work surface. And so I use it as my microscopy bench. But you could use, any sort of cabinet would work out the same that had a flat top. It does have nice storage. I store basically bottles and jars, sort of containers. I have a lot of bags and things up here. I have things to do with the microscope, since I do use this as my microscopy bench. And obviously I keep my telescope or my microscopes up here. I also have a light. I got that from a garage sale, and a lot of the scopes have built-in lights, but some don't. And it's nice because I have it right here by the windows, and I get a lot of natural light in the daytime, so that helps with viewing. I also made a little shelf and holder for a bunch of different magnifiers. We're going to move clockwise around the lab, and the next item is this cabinet. And the cabinet actually holds the fume hood. And I was looking for something for a very specific size to kind of fit in this space. And so it's kind of narrow, yet it's taller, because I knew I'd be standing when I'm using the fume hood. And I got it at a flea market for $5. It was pretty rusted up towards the bottom. So I hit it with a wire wheel and sanded it up and used Extend Rust treatment on it. And then I painted it that blue to match the lab table. So it works out really well. It's metal, sheet metal. It's got a nice drawer and a cabinet in the bottom with a couple shelves, and that's where I keep the majority of my chemicals. On the top, it's actually Formica or something, and I have a sheet of actually window glass that I had laying around from a storm window. So I cut it to size, and that keeps the Formica from getting messed up. Alright, on top of the cabinet is the fume hood itself. And boy, that's nice to have. And I made that myself, and it's basically a wooden box. There's nothing at all special to it. If you want the dimensions, it's probably, let's see here, about 22 inches by about 26 by about 16 inches deep. There's nothing magical. I just made it to fit on top of the cabinet. And the hood is, this is just plexiglass. I was going to make a sliding mechanism or something with Velcro that I could adjust, but I just have these screws with various holes, so I can adjust this in various spots. But I never move this. I just have it adjusted in a spot where it gets good airflow, and I also have good access, and I don't really have a need to move it after that. As far as the fan goes, this is a Hurricane brand 4-inch fan, exhaust fan. It's not explosion proof or chemical proof, but for what I'm using it for, it seems to do a good job. And it's rated at 171 cubic feet per minute, which is plenty of airflow. In fact, I actually scaled it down with this speed controller for fans. You basically plug it into an outlet, and then you plug the fan into the back here. I just unplugged it so I can pull it out to show you. And then it has a speed control, so I can dial that in exactly where I want it, depending on how wide open I have the plexiglass here. I did try this inline 4-inch fan, which is really inexpensive, but it just didn't have the airflow, and I just wanted to make sure I was getting good ventilation, so I decided to spend a little extra money and get a bigger exhaust fan. The only other thing is the light at the top is just the standard. I don't know if you can see behind there. It's just the standard light bulb with fixture. With it's actually a rusted up now tin can shade to keep it from blinding your eyes and reflecting the light back into the exhaust or into the fume hood. I actually mounted pegboard behind the bench. It keeps stuff from falling through the back, both on the upper shelf and the main bench. But it also is a place to put hooks. This is actually a shelf that's on the pegboard. So that comes in handy to mount some extra things, especially since I have cinder block down here. And this is a set of shelves, or actually two sets that I made to fit back here to hold little bottles and gizmos and anything that I might have. And it's not rocket science, it's just 3/8" plywood that I just arbitrarily cut to 2 sizes that would fit back there, and an appropriate shelf height to fit the stuff that I would need to store back there. So those really have come in handy, and once again I painted it the magic blue color to match everything else. Here's my actual lab bench. I got it on Craigslist for 40 bucks, which I thought was a really good deal. It consists of 2 separate metal cabinets. This one has 2 large drawers to it, and the right side has 4 small drawers to it. And it was already this blue color, but I found some spray paint to match exact, and I was able to touch up the outside without having to do 16 coats to cover a different color. The inside of the drawers were pretty much in good shape. I just touched up a spot or 2 there. Came with a Formica top that just sits and bolts right on top. And it has some marks on it, but it's in pretty good shape. And it came with a bunch of other stuff too. There's actually a matching Formica shelf up here with 2 metal uprights. And this upright here actually has a switch on it which controls a power strip underneath here that has probably, it looks like, well actually there's 2 of them, so it looks like there's about a dozen outlets there that you can plug things into. And there's also an under shelf light here too. Oh, and it came with this, I don't know if you can see the bolt-on desk light too. So for 40 bucks, I thought that was great, and forms a good basis for the main part of the lab. Continuing clockwise, I have at least what used to be my workbench. I made it out of pressure-treated lumber from the home improvement store, but now it's about 2/3 lab bench and about 1/3 workbench. You see to the right there's a couple toolboxes and a vise and some drawers with screws in it, but other than that it's mostly lab stuff. I got my centrifuge and pH meter, and these little drawer things I get a lot at the garage sales too, and they come in handy for storing stuff. Right above that I have a cabinet that's actually mounted on a stand here, so I didn't have to mount it to the cinder block wall. But that's actually a full-fledged lab cabinet made by Fixtures Scientific, and it would cost an arm and leg new, but I think I got it for actually $2 at a state surplus store. And it's nothing really special. It's basically just a cabinet, but it does have some really nice glass sliding doors that are nice and smooth. They keep all the dust off of the glass work and all that, so that actually comes in handy. Continuing clockwise, I have a sink and also that's actually a store-bought cabinet that I keep some chemicals in. But these shelves I got at a state surplus store too, and they're nice wood shelves, and they're only a couple bucks, and it was in really halfway decent shape. They had some paint splatters that just peeled right up, and I put a kind of a clear coat. So I use it to store some rock samples and some rock kits and some empty containers. And further over to the right, These are actually ammo crates that I have stacked, and I have extra, mostly lab sort of references, but some other books too. And you can see more towards the top here. Those are some rock specimens that don't fit easily anywhere else. Now the last big fixture item that I got for the lab is this, I call it my project table. It's basically something where I can sit and actually work on a project rather than standing up at the lab bench doing something. But it's an actual real lab table, and I got it at the same state surplus store that I got a lot of the other stuff from. But it's actually a honest-to-goodness phenolic resin top that's pretty much impervious to everything, chemicals and heat and whatnot. It's really nice. It's got some drawers on the front side. And actually, I don't know if you can see, I put a shelf down below to store stuff. That wasn't there. The only problem with it was too tall. It was kind of something that you'd stand around or walk around to work on. And I wanted something that you can sit at. So I actually cut the legs down. But the other problem too was that this top is just so massive that it's just way too heavy to move, and I wanted something that I'd be able to move around. So I bought a second table that was only $15, but it had these caster wheels on there. So I bought that table just for the wheels, and I mounted them on this table so I can actually roll this around and move it out of the way or put it in a different spot if I want to. I also got the office chairs that I use there, and those are only, I don't know, maybe $5 a piece at the most, probably less. And they're in excellent shape, so I use them here at the project table. Well, now you know my secret on outfitting the lab with all this junk without winning the lottery. I have this whole series of videos, and this is definitely the last one, even though I'm sure I'll find some other junk here somewhere. If you're really bored and have nothing to do and haven't gotten to it already, go back and watch the other videos in the series. Other than that, thank you so much for watching any or all of these, and happy outfitting your own lab.